Hi guys, it's Birdie here, obviously. So, if you're hearing noise in the background, I'm sorry, it's just my camera being because it likes doing that. So, this is a video that I'm doing. It's a vlog. I hope you enjoy my face, and yes, my hair is blue if you haven't noticed already. Surprise. I also am trying out some new lighting, so tell me if it looks good. I think it does, at least from what I'm seeing. So this video is going to be about anxiety. I have anxiety. I'm not sure what the exact diagnosis was, and I take Lexapro, 20 milligrams every day. Medicine, yay, not too fun. I also have special pills that I can take when I'm having a panic attack, so that helps. And yeah, I'm gonna help for those who think they have anxiety or who are diagnosed and are struggling to cope with it. I'm gonna give you some things that I do to help myself calm down, and how to honestly see if you really do have anxiety or if it's just like normal stress related stuff, because I see a lot of people being like, ugh, I have severe anxiety because I got so anxious during this test I was taking. Like, that's not severe anxiety. Like, there are differences and you need to know them. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's like advice and tips for people with anxiety. So yeah. So first things first is to tell if you have anxiety or not. Now, the best way to find out if you have anxiety for sure is to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor, not a psychiatrist, a counselor or something, or maybe it was a psychiatrist, I don't know. But just go to the doctor and make sure and talk to them about it, and they can diagnose you, and if you need medication, the psychiatrist can give you something to help you with it. Now, if you are just starting out thinking, hey, I might have anxiety, I wouldn't suggest going on medication right away, because it can be something that you can just learn to cope with without medication, because medication, I would say, is like the last resort. So yeah, and that's what I say. First of all, I think that's the best way to find out if you have anxiety. Please do not Google, do I have anxiety? Because no, and don't take like a BuzzFeed test to see if you have anxiety. It's not how it works, man. Go to a doctor and find out. And if you don't have the money to go to the doctor, then I definitely do suggest that you talk to a parent or somebody, maybe the nurse at school or something. Someone official who knows how to deal with this kind of stuff. So an trusted adult or anything. I wouldn't suggest really going to your friends, because they don't have the best experience with that most likely, and they probably don't know how to help you all too much unless they have anxiety. So yeah, it's the first things first to find out. And if you find out, oh crap, I do have anxiety, here are some tips for you. So the main thing with anxiety isn't just constant anxious anxiety. I mean, it can be for some people, but the main point of anxiety is panic attacks or anxiety attacks. I think there's a difference between the two, but they look rather similar. And so panic attacks, I used to get panic attacks like 3 or so every week. So I went to the doctors and found out, hey, I need to deal with this. So that's what I did, and I started to go to counseling, and then later on we decided to get onto medication. So panic attacks aren't too fun. Usually you have symptoms, and everybody's symptoms can be different for panic attacks. It's not all the same thing, so that's why I wouldn't suggest Googling your symptoms, because you can't get an accurate thing unless you go to a doctor. Because my symptoms went from, I would always have this awful feeling in my stomach, like my stomach was eating itself alive, and it wasn't like a stomach ache or anything. It was this feeling of like, it's hard to explain, but that's how I best describe it. And usually I would get really sweaty, or I'd get really hot, so I'd get sweaty, and my breathing would sometimes be stuttered, and I would talk stuttered. I couldn't really talk straight. I'd be like mumbled talking, and sometimes I'd get really shaky, like I can't control this. This non-stop shakiness, and there are some other things too, but that's what I mainly got when I had panic attacks. And sometimes they didn't even have to they didn't have to be a trigger. It's like, boom, panic attack. And that's another thing about anxiety, is that you need to find out what your triggers are. I know what my main triggers are, and they are public speaking, which is something that gets a lot of people anxious, and also like mass shootings. Like when the attacks in Paris and Brussels happened, I had major panic attacks after I looked into that. And my thing is, I love to be informed, so I like to look up everything on the news, and then I read that kind of stuff and I get super anxious, and it's awful. But yeah, That's mainly what happened. And so I try to, every time I see something like that, I'm like, okay, we gotta calm ourselves down. And so I would say if you have panic attacks a lot, like 3 or 4 a week, I would definitely suggest going to a doctor. And if you can't really talk to a parent or somebody so you can get help, because it's not good living your life with that many panic attacks and not just dealing with them and not knowing how to cope with them, because that's very important. So the next part would be how to cope with anxiety. Now, everyone has different ways to cope with panic attacks and anxiety. I have my own personal ways, and other people have their own personal ways. I'm just going to give you what I do and what my therapist has suggested I do, and then go from there. Because there are countless ways that you can calm yourself down, and you just have to find the right one for you. I forgot what this was called. I think it was like grounding. It was called mindfulness. And this is a way for anxiety that I rather liked, but it didn't really seem to work for me. Where what you do is like you close your eyes and you take note of all your 5 senses. So you see, well, you don't have to close your eyes, but you do. See what you can see around you. Take note of everything that you can see around you. Or close your eyes and note everything, every little sound that you can hear. And note everything you can smell, everything you can taste, everything you can feel. And then do that and just have that going through your mind. And that can really take your mind off the panic. And I try to do that, but that's just not my thing, because usually when I do that, my mind just keeps going back to the thing that I'm panicking about, so that's not always so great. But the main methods that I use are really simple and silly, but they help me a lot, and that is, what I do is, one is I'll count the rainbow. I said count the rainbow, I always mess it up. But like, I say the colors of the rainbow in my head over and over again. So I'm like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And I say that over and over again, and I imagine them in my head too. And if you're also if you're hyperventilating during a panic attack, you can do that and like say it slowly and match your breath to it. Be like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And say it slowly so I can help calm your breath down. And that just really helps me, because it's a simple way to get my mind off the topic, because I can't think about all this bad stuff while I'm focusing on the colors of the rainbow. And another thing I do is you can use your hands and just count the numbers on your hands. Big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or you can just count. What I usually do is count 10 over and over again. And you don't have to use your hands, you can do it in your head, or you can just keep on counting in your head. And so it's another simple way to get your mind off the topic, because you can't think about what you're panicking about if you're thinking about your numbers, you see? And so that helps a lot, and that's what I would suggest. But just remember, everyone has their own specific thing, and I went through trying a lot of different things to deal with anxiety that didn't always work out, and I would still be panicking after it. So the main way is to just go to a doctor and figure out and talk to a therapist or a counselor, a school counselor. I don't know if a school counselor is exactly, they might have some advice, but just go to them and ask for help and just say how to deal with this, because anxiety is not anxiety doesn't go away. Panic attacks never really go away. You have to live with it and cope with it. Even with medication, it's never completely away. So you just have to, and don't rely on medication to make it better, because it's not always going to do that. And I know that's kind of a sad thing to say, but it's true. Medication can't fix everything. It's up to you too. You can't just be like, oh, I'll be fine, my medication's taking care of it all, you know? And then you have a panic attack and you have no idea what to do. You're like, oh my god, my medicine's not working. But you really just have to talk to somebody so you can learn. Especially, I would really suggest going to a therapist, but I know how much that costs, so if you can't, that's okay. Possibly Google some things to calm anxiety down. Another thing that I forgot to mention that helps calm with anxiety is listen to white noise. White noise can range from many things. It can literally be static or white noise, or it can be like the sound of the ocean. What I personally love to listen to is like rain falling or a thunderstorm, or crackling fire or dripping water. And I found this great app on my phone on the App Store. I forgot what it was called, but it was free, and it had all these long-lasting static or white sounds. And I would suggest that, so you just listen to that. Or you can match it with music, and it really helps you calm down. Or for me, at least. So that's what I would suggest. But just try and find things that help you get your mind off what you're panicking about. And if you don't, if a panic attack just happens like that, like it just boom, random panic attack, then just try to calm yourself down and use those techniques to calm yourself down, because you may be panicking, but I mean, if you try to get your mind off it, it's not always gonna work. And I'm not saying that these examples are hard on solid gonna work 100% of the time. And sometimes panic attacks range, their intensity can range from 1 to 100. And just depends on what happened or what. So, yeah. That's what I would suggest as someone who deals with anxiety. That's what I would highly, highly suggest. And I also just want to mention, don't say that you have anxiety unless you do. Because, I mean, I find that people think it's so funny and quirky to have anxiety. Oh, I have anxiety, you know, just hip with the kids. I can brag about it and people feel sorry for me. Like, that's not a thing to do. You should never use your mental disorder to get pity or to flaunt it about. I don't mention my anxiety too much, only when people ask me about it or it comes up in a subject that I can talk about, like this. I don't like to, because it's something personally that I'm insecure about. Most people that I've met who have mental disorders are very insecure about it. Like, you don't flaunt about having depression or being suicidal or having self-harm. Like, you don't do that, because a lot of people, and for me, are ashamed of it. We see it as like a flaw. We're messed up, you know, we're not normal. Like, I wonder, like, what it's like to give a presentation and not have your heart racing. Like, I don't know, man. And it's not something that you want to live with, because it can't just, you can never be cured of it. You can never be cured of anxiety or depression or self-harm. Well, self-harm, like, you can stop cutting or harming yourself, but I guarantee you, as someone who has self-harmed, I have never looked at a pencil sharpener the same again. I can never look at it without thinking about awful stuff. And like with suicidal people, like, I look at the edge of a building, like if I'm on top of a roof or something, and like off the edge, I like get this feeling like I could do it. And that's like, it's just things that you have to learn to live with. And it's hard, and some days it can be easier than other days. So I really just stress, do not flaunt mental illness about. It is not something it's not some quirky trait. It's an illness. I mean, you wouldn't see someone be like, oh my god, I have cancer. Oh, it's so awful, you know. Just not nice. I feel so sad some days. You won't see someone do that, because mental illness isn't treated the same as physical illnesses, like cancer or Ebola. I don't know my illnesses. The flu. You know, the flu isn't like long lasting. That's like a one-time thing, sort of. It's complicated. But you wouldn't see someone do that. It's like, you don't get sick days off for mental health. Because, yeah, if you have like the strep, you can go home. You can't stay at school. But if you're having a panic attack, you gotta stay at school. You gotta deal with it. You gotta deal with it, man. And sometimes parents especially aren't that open to helping their child with mental illness, because they don't see it as something legit. Luckily, my mom especially understands my anxiety a lot, and if I'm having a really hard panic attack, she'll offer to come pick me up at school, and like, so I can calm down and get away from such a social environment. But, you know. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys with anxiety have gotten some tips, and tell me if they work or not, and if not, I'm really sorry. It's just something, again, that it's personal, and you gotta figure it out one-on-one with yourself. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and for this question of the video, I'm trying to think. What is your favorite planet? Tell me down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the video that I make after this one. Bye!